Right, Superman 2025, the movie, was fucking awesome. I watched the Superman 2025 movie and it was great. It's movie of the year for me so far. I literally think it's up there as the best Superman portrayal we've ever had, other than the great Christopher Reeves. I do like Henry Cavill as Superman. That is a review for another time, because there was a lot of things I need to say actually about that. But before we get into it, I just want to say this is a spoiler-filled review, so anyone who hasn't seen the review, or who hasn't seen the film, don't watch this. So my overall thoughts and consensus of the movie, I would probably say it's the best Superman movie we've ever had, and it's probably the best superhero movie we've had in modern media in the past probably 10 years, at least with DC. So before I get into like the structure and such and like the story plot points, I just want to say like how the movie made me feel as a viewer. So I just want to say the tone was very uplifting, filled with hope. The movie was colourful, bright. I left the movie feeling great. I felt invigorated. I felt like it made me feel like I want to be a better person and help others. And for a movie to have a tonality where it can actually make you, the viewer, want to change your aspect in life of like you want to help others, it's something that like I would say is overlooked, and I don't think a lot of people talk about that. I've watched a few reviews on this movie and I feel like no one really talks about how this movie isn't just good, but it makes you feel a certain way, that it actually makes you want to change as a person. Like, there is a scene where Clark is just like, there's two scenes, I think there might be three scenes, where he talks to Lois about it, he talks to his dad about it, and I think he briefly says something to Lex about it. It's basically, he's just trying to be a good man. I love that shit. I just love it. Like, what's so wrong with just being a good person? It's simple yet so effective. So to discuss the story and structure of the actual film, that I did really like that they skipped the origin story. How like this works for this. It works for the Batman as well. So I'm liking this for DC. It works for DC going forward. I think it's really interesting. I just think it's cool. I don't think it's necessary for these certain characters. If it was Spider-Man, I'd be a bit pissed. That's why I have a self-grievance towards Tom Holland's version of Spider-Man, because I think that is a specific kind of character where you need to see the origin. I'm not glad that we didn't have an origin. I wouldn't have cared. I really like seeing an origin of a superhero movie. I really do. I never have not disliked seeing an origin of a superhero movie. I think it's just great. However, I don't think it really ruins the movie by not having it, so that's fine. It was really refreshing actually, not from just a superhero movie but also from a filmmaking movie, like a filmmaking standpoint, because not only do you not get an origin, you kind of dropped into like the second act of the film. I don't mean that this movie doesn't have a first act. It's kind of like the second act and the first act are kind of switched, and it's really interesting from a filmmaking perspective because you don't really see that ever. Now Jor-El's and Lara's motives and how they're perceived in the film, I know it's getting a lot of, well, from what I'm hearing, it's getting a lot of backlash. I don't know if it actually is or not. It doesn't bother me. I'm just going to say it outright. It doesn't bother me, and it shouldn't bother anyone if they've watched 10 years of Smallville. If anyone who's watching this has seen the 10 seasons of Smallville, will know that Jor-El is a dick. He's just a dick. Like, he's never been likable in that show. And I think, personally, from what I've seen in interviews and just based off the film itself, it's kind of, I think it's kind of been inspired by the show of Smallville. Just seeing as how James Gunn is very good friends with Michael Rosenbaum. David Cornsweet has publicly said his favourite Superman is Tom Welling. Nicholas Hoult was interviewed by my favourite Lex Luthor, Michael Rosenbaum, on his podcast. There's a lot of connection with Smallville and this movie, not in the movie, but like more publicity-wise, which I find very interesting. To compare how Jor-El is portrayed in this movie and how he's portrayed in Smallville, they're very similar. Yeah. Anyone who's watched 10 years of Smallville will fucking agree with me. That's not to say it didn't sit with me well at first. At first I was a bit hesitant. I was a bit, I don't know how I feel about that. And then I started to realise, I was like, oh wait, no. In Smallville, he was a dick. He is such an asshole in that series until like the last maybe 3 seasons, and maybe not even that, maybe like the last season, because he's just constantly saying how much he thinks humans are primitive, or Kal-El should be like taking over, ruling them, and it's like, no. But like, I like it. It's a good twist. It's refreshing. Now, there's a character I want to talk about first. I don't want to get into Superman just yet. I want to get into Lex Luthor first, purposely because he's a standout. I think, not the character, well, yeah, the character is a standout, but I mean the actor. Nicholas Hoult did a great job as Lex Luthor. I think he is one of the best Lex Luthors we've had in a while. He's not my favourite. Michael Rosenbaum will still always be my favourite, but I think that's probably biased from nostalgic, and we had like 8 seasons of the man. Especially when he was like opposite of Superman. But his scenes opposite Superman and opposite David Corenswet's performance just moved me in a way where I was like, wow. Like, not only do I understand Lex's motives, and I really like his portrayal, and I understand why he's doing stuff. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. I felt kind of sorry for the character towards the end. Yeah, I kind of felt sorry for Lex in a way where, like, he got lectured by Superman and then got proven wrong about how Superman is. I just felt sorry for him. I think a big part for me to why I feel sorry for him, it's not really anything to do with the film. I mean, Nicholas Hoult did a great portrayal. That's probably why. Nicholas Hoult portrayed it in a way where he was not in fear of Superman, but in fear of losing the public's love and trust. And anyone who knows Lex Luthor's backstory, not in the film, but just overall as a comic fan or a Smallville fan, no one talks about this either. It's crazy how no one talks about this. Lex is a product of having an abusive father. He was abused by his dad, saying like, you need to be the best of the best of the best. I'm not saying it's an excuse for his actions, I'm just saying it is definitely something that needs to be discussed. And because of that, he's a byproduct of why he is the way he is. Because like, he became the best of the best of the best, and then he's living life, he's like, oh, finally fulfilled my purpose, gets in, Superman comes out of fucking nowhere, and now he's cream of the crop. And now, imagine you're Lex in that situation, you'd feel a bit fucking pissed off, because it's like, I just like spent my whole life trying to get to where I am, and you just come out of nowhere, and you're born with these gifts because a fucking ball of fire gave you these powers. It's bullshit. But yeah, that's one point though. It's not like he has a right to be... Well, anyone has a right to be annoyed. So yeah, sure, he has a right to be annoyed. Because of that backstory I have, and Nicholas Holt's performance, moved me in a way where I was like, wow, I really feel sorry for this character. David Corenswet did a great job. He did an amazing job. I think he portrayed Superman the best you possibly could. I think he captured what every Superman actor has done in the past. He did a really great job of bending the legacy of the character or previous actors who have portrayed him, but also making it refreshing and making it his own. A big part to what I liked about his version of Superman is, and this is calling back to what Christopher Reeve said in an interview, what Superman felt to me in this film was a friend. He didn't feel like a superhero, he felt like a friend of just a guy who was trying to do his best, and that's something that you don't really get in superhero movies nowadays. The most you'll get that in is in Spider-Man or Thunderbolts. Actually, if you watch Thunderbolts, that's pretty fucking close. Really just hit me emotionally because the entire time I was thinking he just feels like a guy trying to do his best, and I was like, that's literally what Christopher Reeve was saying all that time ago. Now, his version of Clark Kent, I think he did a great job of doing the duality between Superman and Clark Kent, and how those two, they are two characters. Like, it's the same person, but they are two different characters, like Bruce Wayne, Batman, whatever. To do those two different roles as one actor, I think he did a great job. However, my only real issue actually with Clark Kent in this whole film is we didn't see a lot of him. I know what you're gonna say, like, oh, he's Clark Kent. No, I mean like Clark Kent in front of the public eye, like in the Daily Bugle. It'd be nice to see him do reporter stuff. It would be nice to see him doing more stuff with Jimmy, doing more stuff with Perry. I can't actually remember if him and Perry even have an interaction in this film. Perry is just such a weird character, by the way. Can we just talk about that? He's like barely in this film. Like, barely. It's really strange. Now, I think Rachel Brosnahan did a great job as Lois. I think she did an amazing job as anyone would. I think... Is she my favourite Lois? I don't know. I really don't know, because I think every actress who's played Lois has done a great job. I think it's one of those things where Lois Lane's always been perfectly casted throughout the whole legacy of this. I think there hasn't been a bad... I don't really think there's been a bad Superman, to be honest. I think it would have been nice to see Lois do more reporter stuff. I think it would have been, like, yeah, because I'm not gonna lie, this had nothing to do with the actress's fault, so this is more the character. The actress did a great job. Rachel Brosnahan is amazing as Lois. But with the character, the way she was written, I think she felt more like a companion and a sidekick and just a partner to Superman, which, yeah, I get it, she's kind of meant to be, but it would have been nice to see her actually be a reporter. I think it was actually one of the times where we don't actually see her being a reporter. I know it's a Superman movie, but if you watch Brandon Routh's Superman Returns, Lois Lane's in Daily Planet and she's doing her shit. The original actress from Superman in 1978 doing, like, majority of that fucking movie. There's a lot of fucking movie in Daily Planet and then doing, like, reporter shit. Jimmy Olsen, the actor who played him, did great. I think it was a fantastic take on the character, both being comic accurate and also being refreshing. I think the way he was portrayed was comic accurate, but also he's not a photographer this time around, he's a reporter, so it was actually a refreshing take of it. James Gunn's done a great job overall on, like, how he can just make something so refreshing but also accurate at the same time. Like, how does that work? Now, direction and tone, I would say the way James Gunn's directed this, I think it might be his best piece of work. It doesn't feel like the Suicide Squad. It doesn't feel like Guardians of the Galaxy. It doesn't feel like Peacemaker. In terms of tone, fucking cinematography, filmmaking, writing, like, none of it. It just feels new and refreshing. That is a word I keep saying because that's what this movie is. It's fucking refreshing. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm acknowledging that Man of Steel I love the Man of Steel, I do. I acknowledge the fact that I love the Man of Steel. It's a great movie by Zack Snyder and Chris Nolan. It's a great film. But this movie is just such a better portrayal of the character. The action scenes were solid. They weren't, like, flashy. I think the camera work was just unique. The CGI looked great. It was kind of more emotional than spectacle. It's like whenever a fight scene happened, it made sense for the story. It doesn't need to just be a fight scene. Now, I will say there's, like, one thing that it's not. I don't know if I didn't like it. I'm gonna really have to think about it further on. But, like, it just felt strange how it's set up in the beginning of the movie that Superman has been Superman for 3 years. So he's in his 4th year of being Superman. He felt so scaled down with power. He just felt really underpowered in terms of, like, comparing it to, like, Man of Steel or Brandon Routh. Compared to those, he just felt a bit very low powered. And I know James Gunn has done this on purpose. He's the character to be realistically strong, so you have realistic opponents. Yeah, makes sense. But that would have made more sense to me if it was like he'd been Superman for only 1 year. You know how Robert Pattinson in The Batman has been Batman for 1 year and he's in his 2nd year now and it's like year 2 of Batman and he's, like, kind of still figuring shit out, he's still working it out. He's a flawed Batman in that regard, which is good because it makes sense. He's only in his 2nd year, he's still learning. That's how Superman felt in this. I feel like as he's getting older, he should get stronger. This felt like he'd only been Superman for 1 year, not 3. Now, I think my favourite moment of the movie, and it's kind of random to be honest, I think it's the music. It's like when the whole city is, like, getting split apart by the pocket dimension, right? And there's this woman in the car and she's trying to, like, drive away. She's literally about to die from this building collapsing on her. Superman catches it. She drives on, turns around to see Superman above the debris in dust in, like, a silhouette with the sun beaming on him, and she's crying but not crying in a way, like, she's fucking terrified, but she's also like, oh my god, that man saved me. Like, it was both fear, hopefulness, thankfulness. It was just very emotional, and I think it was not only that scene, but that scene mixed with the score by John Murphy called The Last Son. That hit so hard to the point where that moment felt like hope. It felt like classic Superman. That symbol on his chest, what it means, hope, that's what that scene felt like. Now, overall, I think it's a great first step it's a great direction they're taking, and it's a great first step into the DCU and that lore. Pocket dimension stuff, I didn't dislike that. That was fine. I really liked the pocket dimension thing. My only issue with the pocket dimension thing is they didn't set that up. They didn't foreshadow it. It was just a thing. It was just there. Like it was just a thing that was like already established, and I felt like I'd missed something. I felt like, was I meant to watch Creature Commandos? Like, what just happened? It didn't ruin the film for me. It didn't bother me. I know Lex did some sort of exposition piece of dialogue, and what was missing was there wasn't enough Daily Planet stuff like at all. But I was thinking, and I was talking to my flatmate about this once we were walking back from the cinema, that it kind of leads up, and there are already people talking about this online, it kind of leads up for them to maybe have like a Daily Planet series. Why not? I think that would be interesting. I think that would also be a good way to introduce certain metahumans. Overall, my thoughts on the movie, it was amazing. I think it's movie of the year for me. I think it's probably the best comic book movie I've seen in a very long while. And I keep going back to that word refreshing. It's just so refreshing. I think this movie gave us a Superman we can believe in again. As much as I love Henry Cavill as an actor and he's great and stuff, but I just think that version of Superman, he was too stoic and it was too gritty. I didn't believe in that. It's not I didn't believe in it, it was more, he didn't give me hope, he gave me dread. Even with the minor flaws, this movie is just great on all. I had no issues with the filmmaking. I didn't think it was overly funny. I thought the humour fit parts of the movie it needed to. And overall, to be honest, I would give this movie a 4.5 out of 5. I think this movie was just top notch. The reason I'm not giving it, I am going to rewatch this movie. Whether I rate it differently, I don't know. I may one day just change my mind and give it a 5 out of 5. It will never go lower than 4.5. It may go to a 5 though. It's close. It's very close to being a 5. The reason I haven't given it a 5 is because of recency bias. Before I actually leave this video though, there is something I want to say, and this is not a flaw, it's not a nitpick, this is just something I'd have changed, and I just think it would have been cool for us as fans. I think it would have been cool as like, in like a No Way Home sort of way. Ultraman being a clone of Superman is fine. I have no issue with that, but what I would have done is I would have had a previous actor who had played Superman in the past play Ultraman in this movie. You know, like the rumours where everyone was saying Henry Cavill was going to be Ultraman in this, and I actually thought that was going to be true. That would have been cool, I'm not going to lie. I also think it would have been cool to have either Henry Cavill, Tom Welling, Dean Cain, Tyler Hoechlin, Christopher Reeve's son, any of those guys would have been cool to have as Ultraman, purely because it keeps them in the legacy, and I think that it would have just been a nice little nod to us as fans, and it wouldn't have felt weird because it's an established character from the beginning. In my opinion, what I would have done, I'd have had Tom Welling play Ultraman. Now, the reason I'd have done that was purely because he looks like David Corenswet, but older. So they could totally have said, he looks like me, and Alex could have responded with, yeah, he's you, but he's just older. But overall, I hope you liked my review of the movie. I hope if there's anything you agree with, let me know. If there's anything you don't agree with, let me know. Who would you have had to play Ultraman? Would you have had Henry Cavill? I really think I would have gone with Tom Welling. I think that would have been really cool. What do you guys think? Do you love the movie? Do you hate the movie? And have a great rest of your day. It's been good.